Oh, am I doing? Oh, okay. Hello,
I don't know what is
hello.
first.
Are you gonna say hi? You gonna say hi? You gonna try to eat that too now? So, hello.
This is probably going to be a quick one.
This is probably gonna be a very quick one. Well, that's
Yeah.
okay. They can be quick sometimes. Are
Yeah.
you reading anything right now besides this?
I'm just reading the Solstice of the Drowned Empire novella on my Kindle. About like 10 to 15% into that, and I just started ninth house. I'm just like, I think I'm on chapter two. So that one's totally different vibes, which I'm thinking it might be my thing I'm needing to read right now. So,
I loved Ninth House, but it's a slow one, so just take your
mhm.
time with it. And then there's
Okay.
some pretty dark parts to it too. You read the
Okay.
triggers, right?
Yes, I think I heard the triggers. Yes.
Okay, okay. But
Mhm.
I really enjoyed it. In fact, I have Hellbent on my shelf and I still haven't read it. But I really want to. I want to for next month, especially because it has a lot of the occult stuff and things like that.
Mhm.
And
The Secret Society is really cool to me.
yeah, the whole and it's just so atmospheric and so moody. And I love Alex Stern as a character. Like I think she's just like my type of sassy, I guess. So I really like it. I guess I'm not really reading I shouldn't say I'm not reading anything right now. I didn't read yesterday at all, but I am in the middle of an arc of oh my gosh, where is it at? Oh, Diana Quincy's new one. It comes out next week.
Oh, yeah.
The
Hmm.
Duke Gets Desperate.
I saw
And
the cover of that. That's cool.
yeah, I read like 40% of it in one day. And I was enjoying it, but now I'm in that like I'm not in the mood for historicals mood, so I'm just like trying to finish it before the book comes out. But it's I'm really liking it. There's this crumbling estate, of course. I love a good crumbling estate. And he's supposed to be the duchess or whatever is supposed to be leaving him this castle. And he really wants this castle. He's already been left all the land by his father, but for whatever reason, the wife inherited the castle and she passed away. She had an accident. And
Hmm.
of course, during the reading of the will, she leaves the castle to this American and this half Arab American merchant. And she's like, "What am I gonna do with the castle? Like, I have no money to fix this thing up. It needs a lot of work. What am I gonna do with it?" And so she actually makes a proposition to the Duke for him to
Hmm.
buy it off of her. And he basically laughs in her face. He's like, "Look at this place. Like, if I had money, it wouldn't look like this." So now she's like trying to find ways of bringing in money to the estate to fix it up and that kind of stuff, and she's very
Hmm.
entrepreneurial and, like, there's a lot of, like, witty banter back and forth because, of course, they have this, like, just they're annoyed by each other, you know? And
Yeah.
I was enjoying it, but now my mood's changed.
I know. It's like that's horrible. Like I usually stick to my TBR, but I'm like, I might just kind of I want to do like if I do TBRs, monthly TBRs, I just know like, hey, so this is probably will completely change because I feel like if I'm going to read historicals right now, I want it to be dark historical, something like The Highwayman that I really enjoyed during the readathon. And then I'm like, I really just want to do fantasy, but I'm like, I just don't know. Even that sometimes I'm just like, especially when you're not feeling good and you're sick, you just kind of you're like, I don't know, kind of slumpy. Without
Yeah.
it's not the book's fault, but you feel slumpy.
You just don't feel like
So
reading. You're like,
yeah,
I feel like just vegging out and just staring at the wall sometimes, or, playing a phone
yeah,
game or, whatever it is that, kinda, like, keeps your mind going, but not actively going, like, you're not actively thinking, like, that's sometimes where I get in those those things with my anxiety. Like I can't focus on a book, but I just play like I don't know, water sorter or something like that on
Candy
my
Crush or
phone.
something.
Yeah.
I've been watching a Discovery of Witches on HBO Max, and I'm like, that's just really. I've been like, I'm already at the last two seasons of season three, so I'm like, this is
Oh,
exactly what I
wow.
wanted. The dark academia vibes and the witchy vibes, but yeah, it's like the setting and not necessarily the. 'Cause I like gothic novels, but not necessarily the supernatural all the time. I want the setting and like a morally gray hero, but I
Yeah.
don't want the other part of it. I just want it to be feel spooky a little bit.
Yeah, just the
Feel
spooky
cool.
feels, but not necessarily like witches.
Or
Like,
like
or
just gore or horror, that kind of
y
stuff.
yeah. Yeah, I feel you. I know we're like we've been on this kick of watching old X-Files episodes, like, cause I don't remember any of it. It's been so long since I watched it, and we're at, like, season 5 or something, and we're just like, "Oh my god, why did anybody ever like this show?" 'Cause let me like, Gillian Ans Scully is so annoying. She's so annoying the entire time. And I don't know. And then she's always getting kidnapped or thrown downstairs or something literally every episode. I'm like, why were we into this? I don't
They had
understand.
a formula going on.
Right? I just didn't get it. Anyways, should we talk
Well,
about this book?
yes. So so I know you DNF'd, right? So where you
I did
at?
officially DNF for this book. And it wasn't that I wasn't enjoying it. It's just like we were just talking about, I'm not in the mood for historicals currently right now. And I was listening to the audiobook, and I think the audiobook too, it's the same narrator every single
I
book.
didn't like
And
them. Yeah.
it's just like I wasn't focusing on it. I couldn't focus on it. I'm like, where am I at in the story? And so I'm just like, you know what? My brain doesn't want to read this. Like, it just doesn't want to read this. So I wasn't going to torture myself anymore. And not that it was torture, because I think I read up to chapter 18, and what I read, I was enjoying. Like, I was really enjoying. I love their banter back and forth where he thinks that she's the one that stole the child. And she's like, if you just let me talk, I could tell you that it's not me, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And I liked her as a heroine, and I wasn't quite enjoying him, but I feel like he hadn't had a big role yet. So, that's kinda where I left off.
Yeah. So my rating, I've been toying with a three or a two, to be honest, because I was like, I didn't absolutely hate it, but I didn't necessarily like it either. So I'm like, it's not even to where it was like it's just a me thing, where I would do like a 3 star when I know it's not really the book or the writing style. It's just something that I'm like, I would like it if I was in a different mood.
Mhm.
This one, I was just got kind of tired of the formula. Um, and it was so promising in the beginning because what did work for me was the part like in the beginning with her, and then the part where Boyd started getting a little bit like, oh gosh, that cool pose against the wall kind of thing, like the
Yeah,
back of the arm, like
mhm.
yes, I was like yes, I'm like now we're getting somewhere, like yes.
Yeah, yeah, mhm.
And I read this in like less than 24 hours, and I started it literally last night, and I did the audiobook too as well. So it helped me with the reading physically a lot faster. But it was just the part, and I'm just gonna let anybody know that if you don't want spoilers, do not hear listen to the next few things.
Yeah, we're gonna do spoilers today because I did not finish it, but I will let, Crystal tell me what happened because, I at least wanna know that, but I don't really care to read the rest of it. So, there will be spoilers. If you ever plan to read it and don't wanna be spoiled, maybe watch this another time.
Yes. And it's kind of prompting our other discussion on kind of DNFing the series as a whole, but we'll kind of like talk about that later. But just as an FYI, we're switching gears. But so basically, So you met the Mallorys. She saved Judith, right? From I guess what was his name? Geordie from the previous Georgina's book, book two, where he had kidnapped her. And this one, he guess he got drunk and he kind of was complaining to his wife, and his wife, who just, they mentioned like she needs to go to a bedlam or whatever a lot, but like she basically tried it in her head that she's causing all these problems. Let's just, um, or Anthony's causing all these problems. He deserves his fortune, so he's going to kidnap his daughter to get ransom. And basically, Katie kind of intervenes in that and along the way. Um, Boyd kind of makes it into the fact that he mistakes that she is part of the culprit of people that kidnapped, misunderstanding, miscommunication. And as she stated, if only he would just like listen.
Mhm.
Um, and obviously, the reason why he wouldn't listen because of his desire for her, because she lied to him on the boat over here from America to England, because she wanted to travel the world and also like discover her family, I guess her mom's side of family. Um, but they decided, oh gosh, what was it? The Mallard? I think it's the Mallard family. I can't remember what their name was. But she lied to him and said that she was married on that trip because she didn't want to get distracted by falling in love with somebody the first time she's over there. She wanted to be free and travel the world. So jumping forward into the kidnapping, she kind of jumps in because they're in a tavern and she noticed, she heard a mewling sound and she goes into that room and um, kind of basically saves Judith because she finds her tied up in there and that kind of thing. Um, when Anthony, and there's all these ransom letters that get sent to multiple places, I guess, or they went to the wrong house of the Mallory family.
Yeah, because there's so
The
many Mallory houses now in Mayfair that they keep getting the letters going to different houses.
mismatch. Yeah, exactly. Well, the miss whole thing of this happening is when Boyd catches up with her, because no one else is around, because at this time, this is going at the same time as the previous book. Georgina and James were out saving Drew and Gabby,
Mhm.
with the pirates and stuff. So it's around this time. So no one was at the house to kind of help say or assist Anthony. So Anthony and Boyd and I think Jeremy actually showed up at once as well. So Jeremy and Boyd go to that tavern and they finally find Judith as well. Um, because I think it was at the time that what's her name was oh gosh, Katie was on the way back to try to bring her back to safety. Well, he didn't believe her, so he recognized her from the ship. He can't believe that she was the wife because they did catch Jordy on the way, and Jordy said his wife is the whole culprit. So that whole mistake. And then he just wouldn't listen to her and saying, if you listen for a second, and even if you ask Judith, obviously I'm not the culprit.
Mhm.
And he just wouldn't believe her because he couldn't trust himself because he desired her so that he would believe the truth. Which is such a horrible reason. But so after that, you stopped where they met the Mallorys, where they were thanking her for her part in saving. She ended up in jail for a couple of days because of the miscommunication, because she met up with the wife, and the wife was like, I'm gonna get she tried to bring her to justice, and she kind of pulled a fast one on her and said, no, you're part of my culprit, you're part of my team, or whatever kind of thing,
Oh.
just to get back at her.
Mhm.
But and the whole thing of that. So she was angry at Boyd because of this whole you not believing me and I ended up in jail and kind of a thing. And so the fact that she was angry, the Mallory's, I'm like, what did you do, Boyd? Why is she angry at you? And that kind of thing. So that kind of um put that whole thing off. Well, she ended up missing. She met with the Mallards. I didn't have, she basically got pushed away at the door by the aunt or whatever her name is. It wouldn't allow her to see her grandmother. So she was just told that she was a unwed child from an unwed family. Let's
Mm.
just say that because I don't say it here and you do. But
Yeah.
and so she's like, well, I want to get going and go traveling. However, she missed her ship launching or whatever. And she ended up having to ask Boyd. I'm like, okay, you want to make it up to me? I'm like, I'm not hearing your apologies and whatever like that. And he like refused to like actually say the words I'm sorry and that kind of thing. Um, and just used his as his ship. Well, he wanted to use this ship as a way to also, because he's horrible at courting, apparently. He doesn't know not how to seduce anyone and whatever,
And he
or
wants a
court a
wife.
woman.
Like, he's ready for a wife.
And he wants to marry her, but he's just not good at telling her that or saying it or coming across way too strong.
Clearly, yeah.
He's like, just marry, will you marry me? Like yelling, and she's like, no, not right. Like, no,
Yeah,
like,
communication is clearly not his strong suit at all, like, from what I
yeah.
read.
He literally just said, will you marry me? And basically, because he wanted to get to her pants, basically, in the same breath, in the same sentence. We're like, that's not a reason to marry.
Yeah.
She's like, obviously, that's not a reason to marry. So, so they're on the ship and that kind of thing. And but before he goes, he gets Anthony and James's advice on what he should do. Like he's like, obviously, I'm doing something wrong. And they give the advice of, well, you need to seduce her. You know, she's a very, but you have to have good intentions. You want to marry this girl, whatever. Yes.
They would
And
say
so
that.
yeah, and Anthony's like, you gotta give the looks, the eyes. It's all in the eyes and how you look at her and that kind of stuff. Well, on this trip, um, there comes a point to where Boyd makes this whole big charade of kind of using the opportunity, I should say, of her being drunk after drinking on there, because he doesn't captain his own ships, as we know,
Mhm.
is getting her drunk, and they find and use the captain to help him. The captain was begrudgingly helping him. So as long as you're saying you're going to get married, and he'll marry him on the ship to a deserted island
Oh gosh.
where she wakes up and discovers he's there, thinking she's been dreaming about him and like fantasizing about him, at night. She does desire him, but she's like, he's just so frustrating. He won't, I'm like, she hates the fact that she's attracted to him. Well, he uses this opportunity to kind of seduce her, and he kind of makes up this scheme. And she's also known to make a little bit of fibs every now and then because, life is boring at her old place. She comes from a town with a lot of old people, and she would just make up kind of embellished stories. Um, and so he thinks it's okay for him to do this and and state that she was sleepwalking and fell off of the ship. And he saved her that way when in reality he rowed her over.
Oh
And so
my gosh.
she feels so grateful to him. Like, oh, maybe I do owe him, this. So that whole part, I'm like, you don't owe him anything in that way. If you don't owe him that.
Oh
And
gosh.
and so they have their love, passionate time.
Mhm.
Um, and then they basically all day are together. And then as they're leaving, or they're saying that, oh, he'll come and save them. The ship will know, the captain will know we're around here. Do you not have no faith in his abilities? Is what she was stating. And but yeah, they'll come back, and they're just waiting the day for him to come back. So what ended up happening is actual pirates come come there,
Oh,
and so he's fisticuffs. There's three, I want to say six pirates at a time, and or
oh, of
three or
course.
six pirates at a time.
Yeah.
And he's fighting them.
All these men can just beat up like 20 people at a time, right?
Yes, yes. And then she helps distract them with the second influx of pirates because he doesn't see that they're coming. She wants to make sure that he's will able to fight them.
How does she
Well, then
distract
in
them? Does she
comes
flash them? She's just like
he threw stones out them, and they were like, "Oh, hey, let's go try, over here," because they're big on trying. I think these kind of pirates were known to kidnap people for slavery
Oh.
down there in the Caribbean. And so so yeah, she had the horrible aim, could not aim, but was distracting her with throwing stones at them, and they were laughing at her.
Oh gosh. Well, that's a good distraction, I guess, if they're laughing at her. She's so bad. She's
Well,
like,
she's like, why can I not throw? She's like, this is horrible. So that was funny. But oh gosh, and who should come up? There is a ship on the way, and who should be there? And it looks like it's Anthony and James's ship, I believe, or their
Mm,
own ship. No, it's their own ship. Their captain. But then Anthony and James are also on the way there too. Come to save the day. Um, so he reveals to her that Boyd, before all this, he reveals to her that the reason why he was like ignoring her, because he would be gone and out for like 4 days the first time on the ship has set sail, and it's because he gets really bad seasickness. And
mm,
he had kept this from his family, and obviously the Mallorys, for obvious reason, for the rib
the
jibbing for
ribbing.
that, the
Yeah,
ribbing from being a in the
from all the other
business and not being
brothers and
able.
uncles and yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that's why he doesn't captain his own ship because he gets horrible seasickness, which is like hilarious. Um, they so then Anthony and James come on board and he's like, okay, so what are you guys doing here? She's like, what's going on? Through all this, she is kind of angry because during that whole right before that skirmish with the pirates, she discovered the boat that said the name of Boyd's ship on there. So she realized that he did all this as part of a ruse to get in her pants, kind of a thing. So she's like really, mad at him.
Yeah.
Through all this, she's mad. So when Anthony and them show up, she's like, "Good, fine, kill him, whatever." He's like,
Yeah.
"Why are you guys here?" He's like, "We're here to take you back home and kill. We're here to kill boys."
You're like, "Good,
Anthony and James,
good. Get him. He's over there."
because all through this, the reason why they caught up with them is because they wanted to get Katie. Is because they found out that person that the aunt that rudely told her to go away sent a letter to Anthony where Rosalind found a letter that said, "Hey, you need to tell your B word child to stay away," or whatever. And she thought that Anthony knew that he had a love child all this time and didn't tell her. Well, it turned out he found that he didn't know that. So he found out that he had a love child and he didn't know this. So that is who Katie is his love child from his first woman that he wanted to marry.
Oh, the
A
drama. So
drama.
Anthony is her dad. Okay.
Yes. So so her mom and her father wasn't the father wasn't a real father. Her mom actually um ran away from them or whether basically you find out because of the sister's involvement, but
Mhm.
it's it was kind of crazy. So the hypocrisy was what I didn't like because Anthony and James are like, okay, that was before she's my daughter now. She's my daughter. I told him to seduce my daughter. He's like, and Boyd kind of lied and said he didn't, nothing happened because he didn't actually elaborate on anything. Um, but yeah, so yeah. Um, so then they're like separated after all this for like a while after this. So again, they're not actually spending time with each other at the most portion midway to like the third last of the book.
Ah, I hate that.
It's really, really frustrating. But so she kind of, and then during that time on the ship, it takes a couple days, but like Anthony works up the courage to tell her that he's her dad. And it takes her a day to kind of process that because her mom kind of obviously lied to her about that. Um, and then it all becomes, about her and Anthony and then being part of the family. Um, and she goes to they do meet up with her family again because Anthony met the grandmother, but they meet again um, together and they kind of, I don't think, I want to say make amends. That was like the very last of the book. They kind of make amends. The sister, you find out, the parents never had a good opinion of Anthony, but because he's a Mallory, they couldn't necessarily discourage him from trying to court their daughter. That was what he was trying to do. It was right in the beginning. He was only like 20 or so like that. But what we found out, the reason why the dad didn't have a good opinion of him is because of his daughter, the oldest daughter, Letitia, I think her name was. Um, Adeline's, her mom's older sister, always had a thing for James, not James, Jason, the oldest
Mm,
of the family. But he never, because of that, she steered her sister wrong when she ended up, because Anthony never told her that he wanted to marry her. He wanted to, but he hadn't worked the courage to ask her yet. Um, and they had the opinion that he was a rake and he was just stringing her along. And when
yeah.
it was discovered that she was pregnant, her sister told, kind of convinced her that that's what was going to happen. And ended up, she basically just ended up running away
Mm.
because her family her dad was going to force her to go away for a year and then force her to give up the baby. And
Aw.
she didn't want to do that. So she
Yeah.
just ran away to America and that kind of thing. So that's how that whole happened.
Mm.
Um, Boyd came back into the fold. Oh gosh, I don't even remember it. I read it, what,
This
few
is
hours
another one
ago.
of these where they just leave for days and then like they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna show
For
up and
weeks,
you're
yeah.
in love with me." Yeah.
Yeah, they had an argument like after that is that he's like, well, I could have, you know, this is why I didn't like. He's like, yeah, but yeah, I did that, but I could have taken advantage of you whenever you had that whole thing there, it was that whole kind of like I'm a nice guy kind of thing trying to say that I could have done this. And I'm like, that's the way to convince. Just
Mhm.
say how you could have taken advantage in a different way. So it was
Yeah, I
kind
could
of
have
like
assaulted you, but look, I didn't. I'm a good guy. Like, really? The
drugged
bar's kind of low.
I only took advantage of you being drunk and kind of kidnap you that way.
Yeah. Yeah, at least I
I
bribed
could,
you with alcohol
but
and
like
told
he's
you
like,
lies.
he's like, no, I didn't force you to drink and all that thing. You were drinking yourself. And he's like, well, I could have took advantage of you while you were drunk. Is basically what he was saying. So that whole
Uh,
thing. So yeah,
uh,
I didn't like the fact that the part of that book became about Anthony and Katie's relationship and the way that it was talking about him being in love with her mom at the start. It kind of changed how you felt. It kind of didn't much honor um, his current marriage with Rosalind. It kind of put like, I'm like, okay,
yeah.
but apparently, because they put the question to him like, yeah, but would you have been true to Adeline during those years? Because you still had what he had like 10 years after that to sow his oats. He's like, so to speak. He's like, would you have been actually um, true to her and not stray? And he's like, I don't know. I can't speak to myself in that past that way. So it's like, okay, so maybe it wasn't true love or whatever. But at the same time,
At
it's
least
like,
that's honest.
why wait? I know, but like, why are we talking about this?
Yeah. I mean, it's a shoulda, woulda, coulda, right? You can't like change
Mm.
anything. You can't change the past, so why even go there?
Yeah, I think it's just because he portrayed the author portrayed the anger of him of like, hey, I loved her, I wanted to marry her, and that kind of lost opportunity. And then even James was like, hey, if that didn't happen, you wouldn't have met Rosalind and you wouldn't have your two daughters that you have now. He's
Yeah.
like, so in a way, if you could be angry about that, but you can't change the past because you wouldn't have what you have now. So he's like, you never would have met your wife. So it
Well,
was
that
just
makes
kind
also
of
sense,
weird.
like, why Judith was so comfortable around Katie because she was like, "I don't talk to anybody like this except for my family." Well, it's just
Yeah,
because she's your sister.
you already have some connection. It was kind of, and that was really sweet. I liked that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so that's kind of in a nutshell. That was it. And I think that I'll put here what didn't work for me.
Okay.
That was really it. Is the men, the whole thing, the plot really not being around. It wasn't even the plot itself. All those circumstances
Mhm.
weren't even that much embellished. And like it became the focus, but even the plot was still not enough for me for a good story. Like it felt I like she started so strong for her to be part of the couple, but it's like she's sidelined and just went on this very light plot that didn't really have any much substance. Um, Even if it was going to be a bonkers plot, it still didn't have enough to satisfy, I want to say. So that's kind of why I'm like so done with the series. Like I just if you're gonna do bonkers plot, and like, and that was kind of thing because I was looking at the reviews because I was like, am I the only one that feels like this? Because I remember loving this series, or at least parts of these books as series, and apparently that's kind of the same. There was a theme that people had mentioned is that her later writing style changed, and it wasn't. They're like, it's like she's not writing what she wants to. And maybe it's the publishers because they're like her older books seem to have much more, they enjoyed those books much more, like even in the series, but also in her other books that she was writing at the time weren't kind of meshing with the author that they knew. So that kind of brings a good question to that.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, comments. Oh, hi, my boy was hi, Hannah.
Hi, Hannah. Yeah, we've read 8, right, of these books so far.
Nine. Nine?
9. No, we missed
You
7.
did,
So we've
you
read
did
8.
miss eight, yeah.
And that was only because it was a Christmas book and we weren't gonna do Christmas in June.
Yeah, yeah,
So, I know we talked before about the feeling that we're kind of done.
yeah,
We're kind of done with this particular series. Now, I definitely have a ton of Joanna Lindsey books that
yeah.
are not part of the series that I would like to eventually read, but me personally, especially this time of year, I'm in a fantasy mood. Like I just am. I'm not in a historical mood at all. I just get deep into the spooky season stuff, and then in the wintertime, I'm like hardcore fantasy. Like I just that's just how I am. So we were thinking of switching it up for next month. And I know you said you were okay with this, right? You're feeling the same way.
Yeah, because my whole thing is I obviously I've been revamping my love of historicals this year, and so getting back into that, and I wanted to start with Johanna Lindsey because she's the one that introduced me to the genre when I first started reading her when I was 12. So
Mhm.
and so some of these books I remember, some of these were rereads, but I also read a lot of her other standalones and such that I remember. So I definitely will continue her. It's just a matter, even like right now, I really want to read the second book in the Highwayman, like the Hunter for Kerrigan Byrne. But I'm like right now, like I don't want to read historical, especially after the romance readathon. The next few months, I want to just focus on mood read and the fantasy and the spooky and whatever floats my boat at this time.
Right.
So yeah. So we don't want to torture ourselves.
We don't wanna torture ourselves, but we there is a series that I've put it on 2 or 3 TBRs and I still haven't got to it yet, and it's the Bree series, of Curses of oh my god, now I'm blanking. A Curse of Oaths and oh my g I'm blanking on the name now.
You're right.
I literally just told it to you.
Yeah.
Um, of Oaths and Curses. The Crown of Oaths and Curses.
There you go.
Got it.
So we're totally doing a full 180 and
We're doing
going
a
from Johanna
full
Lindsey to the
yeah, full 180 just because Kristen and I are not in a historical mood right now. So, next month, we're going to read The Crown of Oaths and Curses by Jay Bree, but we're also going to be reading the 2 novellas as well, which one is The Scepter and the
I think
other one is
the sword is the first one, I think. Yeah.
The Sword. Okay. And basically the novellas are just an intro to each character. So I've heard they're extremely short, but they are good to read before you read um The
The Crown
Crown.
of Oaths and Curses.
The Jay Bree book, okay?
I know that one. I don't know what the word is.
The Crown book. So we're gonna totally switch it up and we're gonna just read something that we are more in the mood for. Now you've never read Jay Bree before.
No, I haven't. I heard her. What's a poly romance one? Is that what
The
it is? Or
Bonds
her
That
first
Tie
white?
series
Yeah.
is a white choose, and it to me it feels very dystopian. In fact, I get a lot of the feelings of the Tahara Mafi series, the Shatter Me series. those are the type of feelings I get from that series, which I think why I gravitated toward it. Plus, I just love a good white choose. You know me, I just freaking I want all the men. And I really enjoyed it, but some people don't because it does kind of just dump you into the series. So, I am wondering how she's grown from that. So, yeah. I know I see comments.
Oh, there we go.
There we
I was like,
go.
oh yeah, I forgot there's comments. Uh,
Oh, hi, Tiff.
alright.
Oh, The Scepter. Did you like it, Hannah? Um, and I say the last comment is, did I finish the Bonds That Tie series? And I did finish the series. I read all of them. The last book probably was not my favorite. The fourth book and the last book, which is the sixth book, not my favorite. But I loved most of them. I think the first two I gave 5 stars to. Like it just was. It was just fun. It was just fun. So I don't know. It definitely is one of those series that leaves you with more questions than answers for several books. And it literally just dumps you into the world and you're not even figuring out with the heroine, you're just figuring it out.
Okay.
But I don't know. I enjoyed. So yeah, we're gonna switch over to fantasy at least for a little bit because I would like to get back to more Joanna Lindsey books, but maybe like next year. That's kind of where I'm aiming at.
And yeah, and I kind of, I know we talked about it, so we'll talk on offline, but I'm like, I don't know. That sounds interesting to me. Like, I don't even know if I want to do an entire series, but like, kind of like people's recommendations and reading that.
Yeah,
And like, seeing if
mix it up.
people want, whatever they're between fantasy and historical, let's read this book this month and kind of
Yeah,
talk
because
about
that's kind of what you and I both read a lot of is
it.
fantasy
Yeah,
and historical.
those are my two main genres that.
Me too. I love going back between each of them, but it's just
Mhm.
like shush shush. Um, like you said, I think the romance readathon did kind of burn me out a little bit.
I'm a little burned out, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I read nothing but historicals, and I love historicals. I've been reading them for several years now, but I think like I don't know, the when we did the Once Upon a Readathon, I was not burnt out on pirate books, and I read all pirate books, and I still love pirate books. But for some reason, I got burnt out on historicals. That's never happened before, so I was shocked.
Yeah, because I've been reading about 3 to 5 historicals a month, but like, and I think even during the romance readathon, I read majority of historicals, but I think I maybe read one or two, maybe fantasy, to kind of split it up because I had library holds come in. That's kind of like what happened. Um, she's like, yeah, I read zero historicals.
Well, you might be ready for historicals. I
Now,
know
now
she
you
just
might be
bought.
ready
I
for
know
it.
Hannah. I know you just bought a ton, so you got to get to some of those.
Yeah, I'm thinking November. I might want to read at least one, like Julie Garwood's The Bride. I'm thinking that one, like that's
Oh,
kind of because like Highlander more romances, I feel more vibe in the fall, or dark
yes.
historicals in the fall.
You know what? I'm actually going to be reading some Highlander romances for another
Ooh.
special vlog collab. So that could work for me, actually. That coincides with the little something something. This guy's insane. I'm sorry. He's just. Can you hear him? He's like just
Oh
want
yeah.
something. Um, yeah, that could work. I could do Highlander. Although I
I'm
haven't read a
thinking.
ton of Highlanders. I've read like a few.
I think Julie Garwood was like the only one, like when I was first introduced to historicals, she was really the only one I think I read of Highlanders.
Okay.
And I can't think, and maybe Johanna Lindsey, I think, had a couple, but like really, I think Julie Garwood was my introduction, which she's like the OG of Highlander romances too. So,
Yeah, I think I have some kind of Julie Garwood on my script, but I don't remember which one. It might be The Bride. So that could
okay.
be work out for November if you want to read that. I'll take a look at my what I have and let you know.
Okay.
I'll
Yeah.
probably be in the mood for it again.
Yeah.
My mood changes
I'm
so much.
thinking. Yeah, Hannah's like, I want all the fantasy romance and historicals right now. I have zero historicals into my TBR October. Yeah, me too. I think we're all just doing fantasy for next month, really. That's what I
I'm
have.
not gonna lie, like I have a reel coming out tomorrow that's something like, can I just read vampire books all month long? Like I don't know. I'm not a vampire girl, but for some reason this year I just want to be.
I haven't been a vampire girl since the whole Twilight fan thing happened
See,
like
I
years ago.
wasn't a Twilight person. I
It's
missed
not
that
hard.
ship, and I didn't really like the sparkly vampires anyways, so
It was weird, but it was still, I don't know, addicting to read and such and watch.
yeah. But then I was telling you we were watching Exiles right now. Well, the next show that I
Mhm.
want to watch with my husband, there's this show called Being Human. Have you ever heard of it?
It sounds familiar.
Okay, so Being Human is about a werewolf, a vampire, and a ghost in an apartment together. They live together. And it's not a rom-com. It's
Is that
not a
on Netflix?
rom-com. It's on Netflix, yes, and there's a British version,
Okay.
but the American version is the one that we liked a lot. And so we're
That's
going back to
interesting.
that for the month of October because we'd really want to watch that.
Nice. Nice.
Yes, I loved that book, Slaying the Vampire Slayer. Have you read that? Did you read that?
No, I read The Serpent and the Wings of Night. That's my first one I read with her, and I loved it. So I want to
Oh
read the
man,
second one before I go to any other by her.
I still have to read the second one too.
Yeah,
Maybe we
I
should
think I
read the
might read.
second one together.
There you go. Yeah, let's read that one too next month.
Ah, why are you chewing on my laptop? You were so hungry. Oh my god, he act like I never fed him.
Oh yeah,
Um,
kind of. I feel yeah. With me being sick the past few weeks, I kind of with my other health stuff going on, I'm just like, and Belladonna did not get me out of something I thought, and I feel so bad that I didn't really enjoy it. But yeah, this feels like everything's been slow. It took me 2 weeks to read Belladonna. 2 weeks.
oh
I shit
man.
you
And that's like when you like get into that slumpy phase of a book, like because sometimes I read really slow when I'm really liking the book too. Like I'll stop every chapter and I'll start reflecting on it and like I just feel like I need to take a moment. Like, but when you are reading a book and you don't feel like going back to the chapter, like that is sucks. Like it just sucks.
Yeah. But I did one thing I have to say though, I really have enjoyed binging A Discovery of Witches. Max, so that has been helping. So I think that also part of it's like I didn't want my brain to think kind of a thing.
Yeah, I didn't know there was a third season, so I think I've only
Yeah,
watched
I
the
guess
first 2.
it follows the books, so there's 3 books. It's a trilogy, and so it
Mm,
kind of follows closely. Like the first season's the current, and then second you go back to Elizabeth times. They
mm,
kind of time travel back, and then the
mhm,
third it bookends to the present. So it's
mm.
been it's good. It's kind of there's some points where I'm like, okay, I feel like I should be reading the book because I feel like I'm missing something because they didn't really
Oh,
explain something.
I
But
couldn't I okay, so I read the first book of The Discovery of Witches because I was like, "Oh, I like the show, why not I just read the book?" It's it's kinda like Outlander to me, like, where it's a lot of academia stuff, like smarty people stuff. Like, brain
which
is not
I eat that stuff up. Like I eat that stuff.
I
But
can't.
I'm
I can't. I don't care. I don't care how much you know about herbs. Herbs. And then in this one, it's like, oh, my time at Oxford and blah, 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 blah. I don't know. I just didn't care. I didn't care.
I'm the person that plays video games, like when they talks about like Dragon Age and all that kind of stuff, like the history and like the little journals you get. I'm the
Mhm.
person that actually reads those, and I'm like, and all the
I
time
don't
that these creators put into it, I'm like, ooh, the lore and the history. I'm like, I'm so immersed in this world. I'm like, I am such a nerd, but I love this.
My husband does the same thing. He'll like any little collectible you pick up, he just wants
Yes.
to look like when the 3D turning thing, he's like, "Oh, ooh, look at this." And I'm just like, "Can you get back to the game already?"
I, I started a new game in February and I'm still playing it. I'm not even halfway done. My husband, I'm like, he's already beat it like twice, and he's like, are you done yet? Like, he just has the main quest and stuff. I'm like, how do you function? I get distracted by the pretty sceneries and everything like that and the side quests.
Yeah, side quests. I just saw a
But I
shirt
only
I
play
just
like
saw a
2 hours
shirt
a week. So
today. I showed it to my husband. I saw a shirt today that said, "I'm not procrastinating. I'm doing tight side quests." And it was like this little kitty in a little armor suit with a sword. It was like, it's like I need that. You know what? I
mm,
only got through the first book, and I honestly sped read most of that book. Like Hannah, you might like it. Crystal, you probably would like it. You guys know me.
I just
I'm
get
like a very plot forward person, and I
yeah. I like both. Like it depends on the route, the how the author's writing is, or I like being with the character. It doesn't have to have too much plot. But sometimes my favorite, like too much plot, it's too fast sometimes where I'm like, I don't it's going too fast and I'm like, it's already done, I'm done reading it. I'm like, I want to be kind of immersed. So like the perfect world for me, that's why I like fantasy romance or romantasy,
mhm.
is the 50-50. You're with the characters and you're also like it's the world building. So like the perfect being just right. I want to be Goldilocks. I want it to be just right.
I agree with you. I kind of feel that way about Slaying the Vampire Conqueror. So for me, Serpent is very action forward.
Yeah,
Even
I
though
love
it's
that.
long, sometimes the action, like when they're doing the trials at the end, you're like, did we need to add another scene with the trial? Like that kind of thing. But it's more action heavy, and I think that's why it's one of my favorite books. Daughter of No
Yeah, I
Worlds.
really enjoyed it.
Yeah, Daughter of No Worlds didn't work for me as much. I still give it 4 stars. Like, it's still a beautiful book, but it's so much more character heavy. Like, so much you're in her head so much exposition, so much so many different characters. It started opening up different characters and they all sounded the same to me. So that one just didn't work as much for me, but I feel like Slaying the Vampire Conqueror is like that perfect mesh of both of those books because there's a lot of exposition and you're in her head a lot, but you care about it. Like you just do. You're with her the entire time, but then also it has some good action scenes in it too. So I just really, I don't know. I really liked Slaying the Vampire Conqueror. I think for me with Carissa Broadbent's books, it goes Serpent, Six Scorched Roses, because I love that one. And
Okay.
then Slaying the Vampire Conqueror. And then like Daughter of No Worlds is like at the bottom. I'm not going to finish that series. I just don't think it's for me, but it's still a good book. Like I gave Daughter 4 stars, but the other ones are all 5 stars.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of like why I think I love Fourth Wing so much. It's like I like that kind of it was a for me it felt perfect. You're like in her head, but at the same time all the action and the dragons were cool and that kind of stuff. It's just that whole YA feeling, but older YA feeling. So the first person kind of thing. So it all depends, I think, with the authors too as well. I'm like,
Yeah. See
it
with
depends on if they can write it and it makes me like it. All to them basically.
and fourth wing for me, I gave that one 4 stars, so it's not my favorite, but like I love how CW it made me feel. Like all of these
Yeah.
people are like totally from this is a CW show. Okay, everyone's making the worst decisions possible. This academy is the stupidest thing ever. They would just be conquered immediately. Like why are you killing off your own people? I didn't understand it. But it's like but I was there for it. I was there for the drama.
Yeah. See, this is why I'm like, so I read when I first getting back into reading, and it was fantasy, I read the Red Queen series by Victoria Aveyard. I know
Mhm.
she has a new series out, and I had the first book in that, like I think it was Realm Breaker or something. But I DNF'd that series at like the third or fourth book because it got too much. Like I love the first book was the best. The first book was the best because it got too plot heavy and too many point of views that or points of view because it kind of you're like, okay, I'm lost now. I'm like, I don't even know you're speaking word. Are you speaking words? Because I don't did I lose the ability to read because I can't it's gibberish. At some point it got too much. So
And I think some of
So
these
yeah,
fantasy romance series, they do drag it out for one extra book longer than they should. Like, it's okay to have a duology. It's alright to have like, because
yeah,
I
you
love a
don't
good cliffhanger in
need.
a fantasy romance. Like, as long as you finish up the main story, the cliffhanger can be, like, the lead into the next series, and that's fine with me, but, like, do we need, like, 5 or 6 books? Like, 3 is my max, but really 2 is my sweet spot. Like, I really like duologies.
I think. Well, I think also part of I've heard what they said. Someone said something about. I think is it Red Wing or something like that. It's like a sci-fi. Is it Red
Oh,
Wing?
yeah,
I
yeah.
can't remember.
That Pierce
It's
Brown, whatever.
Pierce Brown because it's 6 books, but like the first 3 books are an arc. So like they already have the author already has it in their head and they're already plotting it out for that for the climax and arc, and then
Mhm.
another kind of climax that builds upon that. If you're already planning that ahead and it's well thought out, yes. But if you're just like you don't even know where it's going, but you don't, there's so many plot holes, it kind of makes it hard to enjoy it.
I'm
I
just
feel that's
letting out
why
this
that's
peacock because he's just like all I can hear is this peacock in my ears. It's my cat. Anyways,
yeah,
sorry.
that's when you find that's when it becomes too intimidating with these series is when it doesn't become as successful. And then I also know there's other nuances to that of like financing and authors having to publish, financing that and it wasn't popular, so they get their other books kind of cut and that kind of stuff. But
Yeah, it was so CW.
yeah.
I love that. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
The Red Queen series. I think I only
Oh,
read the first or second one. I think I only read
Hannah, I
two of
feel
those.
validated. I feel validated now. I thought I was dumb. Okay.
I
I
just
do
remember
feel
everyone
validated.
hating on that book because it was just like a copycat of every other book out. And I'm like, isn't that a lot of
It
fantasy
is.
romance though? Like,
It
but
really, all of them are like that. That's why I like it.
yeah, it's all right. It's okay. That doesn't bother me sometimes, unless it's like absolutely plagiarism. But it's like, uh,
Yeah.
anyways, I love
There's a
fantasy
lot of
romance.
there's a lot of Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings comparison. So
Yes, I have a book that I downloaded that said it was the Game of Thrones meets like The Bachelor. I think I can't remember the title of it. It is somewhere
oh,
on my.
you sent that to me. It's Game of Thrones like
Oh
the
yeah, A Hunt So Wicked.
Bridgerton.
Yeah, A Hunt So Wicked by
Game of
Britt
Thrones,
Andrews. I want to read that one too, but I don't. I just don't know when. But yeah, I thought that
I
was
feel
interesting.
like I feel like I need to do one of those collabs where you pick my TBR because I feel like I've been having such horrible choosing issues lately. So I feel like I need to have you pick my TBR and then I just do a video.
Yeah. I don't know. We're such mood readers. Will we stick to the list? Yeah, I don't know what would
Well,
happen either.
I
Night,
feel like
Hannah.
because like a lot of yours was it a ship and bones and teeth. I'm like you haven't really steered me wrong yet. So
Oh
like
my god, I freaking love that book so much. Like, I
that is
still think
interesting.
about that book. This so far, I think it's gonna be like nothing has topped it yet. As far as the book that I'm constantly thinking about in my head, like I vividly remember scenes from it, and I know it probably like is not gonna be everybody's favorite. Like a lot of people think it's slow in the beginning. I didn't find it slow at all in the beginning.
Little slow but not very. It's
Yeah,
like
to me, it was just more of, like, setting the mood type of thing. It just seemed like every other fantasy romance that I read is, like, the beginning is really setting up the story, the characters, that kind of
yeah.
thing. And I don't know, I love Karina Hallie's books too, or at least the 3 that I've read. So, I don't know, maybe I was just used to her writing as well, but I don't know. I can't
Yeah,
wait for
I
Hollow.
get that. Yeah, I get that one. Was I gave it a 4 or 5 stars? I can't remember. But yeah, I'm looking forward to those. But yeah,
Yeah.
I
But
have to.
anyways, tangent.
I know we're getting.
We're gonna switch over to fantasy romance next month, and we're gonna read The Crown of Oaths and Curses by Jay Bree, as well as the 2 novellas, The Sword and the Scepter. And I think we already have a date, right?
Yeah,
20
29th.
October 29th, last
Yes.
Sunday of the month, as always, is what we kind of end up doing. And, yeah, I'll make the thumbnail for everything. We're kind of
Okay. I think
abandoning Joanna Lindsey.
I know. Sorry, Joanna. Yeah, we'll be on my. I think we're on my channel. We're on your channel right now, so I think we'll be on my channel next month. So
Oh,
yeah,
perfect, perfect.
yeah,
So, yeah, that's great.
nice. Yes, I feel like we need to call with something, but it's just whatever.
We should,
Crystal
I
and
don't
April
know,
Lee.
April and Crystal's books. I don't know. I don't know. We
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 need
probably
something.
need a name. Yeah, we probably need a name. The who knows what we're gonna read next book club. The
What's a TBR? What's a TBR book club?
yeah, what's a TBR book club? We might read this book club next month because we can't stick to a book. Anyways.
We did pretty good though. We got what 8 books in. We did strong.
That's more
It's
books
just
in a series than I have ever read. Like, honestly.
mhm.
Actually, I take that back. There's 8 books in the Lily Archer, Phase Captive series. However, all of those are only 100 pages each. So, this is really the
Okay.
longest
Nice.
one. Yeah.
There's Steph is it Stephanie Lauren? She has I read The Devil's Bride, but like the Sinster novels, it's like 23 books, historical romance. And I'm like,
Nope. Count me out.
I challenge accepted. This may take me 3 years, but
Challenge
challenge
accepted.
accepted.
I fully applaud your challenge on that. I will not be joining you.
That will be me next year. I'm like, we'll see how many I can get through a year and see if I even want to. But
Oh man, I am so bad at starting series and then I just move on to another series. I never finish it.
I used to be like having to binge read. I usually like, especially for fantasy. That's why I'm like, I wait, or if I there's only a few authors I would anticipate their books and like be looking out for the next release. But like a lot of them, like I just binge read them. Like I can't just have a book in between.
Mhm.
Nowadays, it might be a few months before I get to the next book in a series.
See, I
It's
can't.
totally different now.
I'm not a binge reader. It's just something like I get burnt out really easily, I think, by one specific story. I need like a break. Even TV shows sometimes I can't watch them back to back to back to back. I'm like, okay, let me give my brain a break for a minute. And then I like to read something completely different. And then I might go back to it. But judging by my track record, I don't go back to it.
Oh,
I'm
funny.
horrible at it. Unless somebody tells
Yeah,
me, April, you're reading this book. Or, they put a gun to my head and tell me, you need to read this book now. I probably won't. Yeah, I like this.
yeah. I think
What the heck is a TBR?
what's a TBR book club?
Book club. Mood Readers
That's funny.
Anonymous. That's what we are.
There you go. Mood Readers Anonymous. That's perfect.
Yeah, there we go.
No, I think last year I would like read like historicals, fantasy, contemporary, like historical, fantasy, contemporary, and like it
Yeah,
was like kind of funny. I was doing that just like I needed a palate cleanser, and then I went to
I
that.
I read contemporary every once in a while. I keep thinking mafia would be my perfect genre, like or subgenre, but I just haven't really found one that super engaged me yet. I really like Mafia Mistress and
That was a good one.
those ones. I really liked those, but I don't know that I liked them so much that I like this is my whole personality now. Like
Because
to
that's
where
what something
like
we have to do. It has to become a personality.
I there's no halfways with me. Okay, I either just don't read it or I read it once and try it
So,
and then I just don't go back to it. Oh boy, my brain.
oh my gosh. Oh yeah, we'll have to come up with names.
Yeah, we will. We'll figure it out.
We'll make t-shirts. There we go. We'll make it.
What's the TBR?
That's a
Mood
TV.
Readers Anonymous. I'm like, hi, my name
Oh
is
my
April,
God.
and I'm a mood reader.
Hi, I'm the problem. It's me.
Yeah, I'm the problem. It's me. Anyways, I
Oh,
think we'll
goodness.
hop off. I know my dinner's probably getting cold. Um, but yeah, I'm sad I DNF'd after this, but also I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I'm not
Thank you
sad.
for
I'll
filling
probably
me
go
in,
back
though.
eventually. Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for filling me in, though. So I feel like at least I sort of read it.
Yeah. I feel like That was pretty interesting. Hopefully, I didn't get off too much topic. I'm horrible at explaining everything because then I'm
No,
like, oh
you
wait, and
did
then I didn't
great.
remember, but this happened before that.
Yeah. You did great. You did great.
Awesome.
Anyways, thank you everyone for joining us. And we'll talk next month, October 29th, and we'll switch it over to fantasy then.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Night, everyone.
Bye.